Game on! Joining me this evening is the goalie guru.
Oh,
He's been on a few times in the past. Bob, goalie number one from the Twitterverse. Um, what do you think of Mike Smith lately, Mr. Bobby?
Mr. Dirsa, what do I think of Mike Smith? Holy smokes. I'm not. Huh, I wish I could say I believed in Mike Smith right from the very beginning. And I thought all you guys were terrible for giving him shit for some shitty games. But it's not even that long ago. You have video evidence where I think I even started the show off with a moment of silence for Mike Smith's career as an Oiler. I believe that was after the 9-5 Calgary game. But holy smokes, eh? Like what? He's playing the hottest he's been probably as an Oiler, not just this season. I've got him down, not counting this game where I thought he was incredible too, but like probably at least must be 5 elite level games in a row for him where he's been outstanding. And he maybe had 3 of them before Woodcroft came on. Good. You gotta enjoy it though. You gotta love what he's doing right now.
I thought the team tonight, for about 50 minutes of that hockey game, maybe even 55, absolutely dominated Dallas. And I think they kind of like rope-a-dope themselves into a little bit of a sleepy phase there for a little bit and kind of let Dallas back in it. But that was they've been playing lights-out hockey for a little while here.
You nailed it on the head. It's definitely been a team thing for sure. I mean, as much as I'll sit here and sing the praises of Mike Smith, and gladly do that too, the team itself has played amazing. I thought a key factor in this game was the early power play that Dallas had, and they fired 5 shots at Smith in the first period on the power play, and all 5 of them were quality shots. And you could tell he was in that groove, and you could see the team just have that confidence in him, going, okay, Mike's in this one, we got him.
He doesn't look like he's in quicksand anymore. You know, the movement looks a little bit more fluid. Although the game against the Knights, early in the first period, there was kind of a side-to-side play, and the Knights missed the net, but he kind of stumbled, and I'm like, oh no, maybe Mike's, maybe his balloon or whatever is popped here, and it's kind of, here we go again. But give him credit after that. I didn't see, well, there wasn't any flaws in the rest of that game, and that was, I think, like 5 minutes into the first period, and he settled right down and played lights out hockey. And the team is rolling right now. I mean, they do look like a playoff team right now. Other than, I thought tonight, like I say, like I think there was a little bit of a sag in their game, and it kind of opened the door for Dallas, and they kind of got back in it. But then, once it was tied again, then they dug in and weren't bored anymore and got after it and slammed the door shut, took the game back and never let it go.
We need to be a team that thrives on that little wake-up call. Like you said, they had that 2-0 lead, and then it's kind of like we'll kill them with offense kind of thing. And then Dallas started striking back, and that woke them back up to, okay, let's play our game again. Let's play our team game again. And after that, they were dominant. They fired, what was it? Did they get 50 shots today? Yeah. They kept bringing it. I thought actually Wedgwood played pretty good, to tell you the truth. There were a lot of quality chances against him too, but there's no stopping the blue and orange right now.
No.
49 shots I'm looking at right now. So
yeah. And Dash was trying to say that Reed Wilkins was saying, I think 55 or 56 shots is the Oilers' record. I don't know if I buy that. I would think we've put 60 shots on a goalie before, but
that's might be worth looking into. I didn't know that. I know the season high this year is 50.
Maybe,
but yeah,
it seems like we would have put 60 shots on net in some games.
Well, I don't know, because a stat this year where we had 9 home wins in a row, that's something we'd never done as a franchise before neither. And you would think in the 80s we must have put like 12 or 13 together in a row. So
yeah. I don't think I've had you on since Woodcroft has taken over. What do you think of the difference?
I think not only is it just a new voice. He's tweaked the game. Like, I've never thought that McDavid's defense was all that bad. Maybe in his first 2 years where he was still, trying to prove what a force he is out there. But I've always thought his defensive game isn't that bad. He could always afford to cheat a little bit because of how fast he is to come back. But I gotta say, ever since Woodcroft took over, I see Connor McDavid past our face-off circle, like in the defensive zone, a lot. He comes in deep a lot, and that's one of the bigger things I noticed from our star players. As a team, Woodcroft does a pretty good job of managing ice time where everybody gets a fair sniff. I mean, there's definitely been some games where a guy will only get like 4 minutes, but overall he pushes everybody to almost the 10-minute mark across the board. He wants everybody to be engaged, and I think the team buys into that. They all feel like they're an important part of this team because they all have a role to play, and they have a significant time during the game to try and contribute.
So we got a comment from YouTube with the handle of Epiphany. Maybe he sees something this season in this team and made a handle based on that. But he says that McDavid to Kane goal was wicked. Yeah, no, that's Connor being Connor. I mean, he outraces the defenseman down the ice, and defenseman did a good job to keep him to the outside, but it didn't matter because he saw Kane trailing and finds him, and it's basically a tap-in goal for Kane.
What did you think about the amount of time that McDavid and Draisaitl were out for that last while in the game? With a 2-goal lead, Woodcroft's got McDavid and Draisaitl out there to kill the rest of the time for a significant amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, you've got one guy that is, maybe that's just giving them a little extra shine to get extra points, nothing to lose. So you're probably going to see an empty net on the other end. So,
I don't think Woody thinks that way though. Like, if he does, he keeps it to himself. I mean, Woodcroft's press conferences have been unreal impressive. The way he's all about for his team this, and the way he speaks, the way he communicates, the way he talks about his guys is just like, I want to go to bat for him. I don't even play for him. I actually think in this game especially, he's got Draisaitl and McDavid out there shoring up their defensive game because we're going to need efforts like this from them in the stretch in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Draisaitl's really good in the dot, obviously, and McDavid's not far behind this year, which is awesome. But Leon's really good defensively, and Connors can be everywhere all at once. So to defend, I mean, he can skate like the wind. So,
but in the past, we would see Nuge out there and Hyman out there for the most of the time. Even Fogle, Cassian has seemed defensive. McLeod, right? They were out there killing the last if we're up by 1 or 2. But now he's got our star players out there, and I think that's I think that's part of the work in progress that he's doing to make these guys playoff ready.
Cassian's defensive game is not something I want to see trying to protect a lead late in the game. I mean, he's got trouble in his own end, just getting pucks out. How many times do you see the guy catch a pass on the wall there and have a real hard time getting it out?
Yeah, he was the only. I'm looking at the sheet right now. He was the only Oiler under 10 minutes, and even then, he's like 9:41. So again, ice time distributed across the board. Going back to Mike Smith, though, you always hear about what a battler he is, and you see the way he plays and he battles. Yes, it's a pretty cliche thing, but if anybody exemplifies battling, it's Mike Smith, and that's what we see on the ice. To me, this has shown now what a battler he is off the ice as well. To get back to the point where he is now, most of us had written off. I had written him off. He was 39 years old. He's now 40, but to begin the season, 39 years old, he got hurt significantly twice, missed long periods of time. Where I was like, you don't heal from those injuries. As a 39-year-old / 40-year-old goalie, you tweak a muscle, that thing bothers you the rest of the year. And he's battled his way back to being in better form than he was to begin the season.
Yeah. He's definitely, it almost looks like his puck play right now is better than I've ever seen it in an Oilers uniform.
Yeah. but that goes back to a word that gets overused, but it's totally true: confidence. Like he's playing so well right now that affects every aspect of his game. His puck handling for sure has been the best it's been all year, and maybe as an Oiler as well. I think you're right. But also one of the things he does when he's on his game, and what he wasn't doing when he was struggling, is he attacks the puck. Now, like when he makes a save, so he plays a style that I know when I was coaching goalies and stuff that I would not show as an example of do this because Mike Smith does it, because you teach goalies to watch the puck hit you, let the puck hit you, right, and then deflect it into the corner or cover it up. Mike Smith attacks the puck. When he makes a glove save, he throws his glove at the puck. Like he throws his legs at the puck. Now, sometimes that gives him some juicy rebounds. You see the puck bouncing out, and then he has to make a secondary save. But that's when he's got his confident game, because he is an attacker. Like he's aggressive. He's an aggressive goalie. And when he was struggling, you saw him be back behind the net or back in his crease. Pucks were flying by his head like they do with every goalie in NHL nowadays from bad angles. When Mike's on his game, that stuff doesn't happen because he's out there. How many times was he top of the crease or in the white paint this game?
I gotta confess, the first period I was basically watching the game on my phone, because my son, he plays kind of summer and spring basketball, so I'm at his practice. I'm watching the game on my phone, watching him, and I see the first Dallas goal go in, and I'm thinking, Smith was too deep in his net. And then I get home and I watch it on the big screen, and yeah, no, he was almost at the top of his crease, like he was about a foot from the edge of the crease, but he was a little too far to the right side. He wasn't quite in the middle of his net because he didn't really have a lot of time to get over. That's the only fault. I mean, it was a great shot. It was up top corner, just below the bar. But yeah, and I'm thinking, he's deep in his net again. But no, he's playing more aggressive, and no fault of that. And then the second goal, I think he's just kind of a rebound play. And
well, the thing is, the other thing I noticed this game too is like he never lost sight of the puck at all this game. Like he was tracking the puck well. The one time he does, it was the second goal. He thought he had it, and he lost sight of the puck and then slipped by it. But
yeah,
his tracking phenomenal this game.
And shit's gonna happen in the game against the Knights. There, his rebound control was phenomenal.
Yeah,
like he didn't give up anything.
He swallowed everything in his gut. Like he was great. And that little glove save he does, where he throws it at the puck and does the little hand twist at the end.
Yeah.
And that's not an aggressive thing. He attacks it. He just attacks it.
Yeah. How much better is his glove than Mikko's? It's quite a difference. In my opinion, I want to see where you are on this, but that game against the Avalanche where we lost in the shootout, I think that was the most difficult assignment for any of our goaltenders this season, and I thought Mikko did a phenomenal job in that game.
Mikko was our first star of that game. He was our best player of that game for sure. And I think that's one thing we're overlooking right now because of how good Mike Smith is playing.
Yeah,
Mikko's been playing well. Yeah, the game against Minnesota was flat, but the whole team was flat.
Right.
But like his game against Colorado, he stole us that point.
Yeah.
And then the game before that was against LA when we beat them 4-3, and he was our best player of that game too. So he needs to see the ice here. I understand that Mike Smith had back-to-back shutouts, so it's kind of tough to take him out of the net. But having said that, we did that with Stuart Skinner. He gets a shutout, we send him down.
Yeah, I think Friday Mikko's back in, but
yeah, it's Colorado again though, isn't it?
It is. But I don't think you can run Mike Smith ragged either. I don't think that does anybody any good either.
Going to, and Woodcroft has said he won't. And so we all know that both are goalies who are red hot right now, which is a luxury to have. And basically, if they keep doing this, then Ken Hall is going to look like a genius. But we also know that they both have a tendency to crash and crash hard. So we will probably need both these guys to make a decent playoff stretch run.
As great as this run with Smith and Mikko really both going, but more so to Smith. maybe it's just because I've been a long time Oiler fan, but there is a sense in me that almost feels like, this is great, but is he peaking too early? Has he peaked a week too early here? And I hope that's not the case, but that is something that it does, enter my skull for sure.
Well, you're not the only one. So probably about 90% of the hockey conversations I've had with people, especially regarding the Oilers, and especially when goaltending gets brought up, they all say that. Like, oh no, are we peaking too early? I guess we'll find out. But good golly, is this ever a nice wave to be riding on? And you see some guys peak all the way through the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right all the way through. Look what happened. If a goalie gets hot at the right time, anything is possible. Look what Hudobin did for Dallas. Right? Hudobin's not even a legit starting goalie, but he got hot at the right time, and they helped ride him to the finals. Right?
Yeah.
You know, the Cam Ward, the year that they won in 06.
Yeah, Wilson too, for that matter.
He wasn't their starter. Martin Gerber was their starter for most of the season, and then also to start the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, Ward gets hot when Gerber struggles a bit, and they ride him all the way to the finals into the championship. And so anything's possible. You ride it. Patrick Waugh, when he came in 86, he was this rookie, really untested goalie, and they ride him to the Stanley Cup final. So anything can happen when you get a hot goalie. And any goalie can become hot at any time. You make the NHL for a reason. You're one of the top 100 goalies in the world. So you get hot at the right time, anything can happen.
Yeah. I hope, my biggest worry right now is him staying healthy. That's really the thing. Like, I think as long as he's got his mobility about him, his goaltending will be there. And I think that was really what was plaguing him all season, is he had no mobility because he wasn't healthy.
Yeah, for sure. And we've mentioned that before. So I don't know if this means that he's 100% healthy. Honestly, I don't think anybody at this point in the season is 100% healthy. You got 77 games under your belt. Although Mike's got what now, 26, I guess. So
yeah,
that's
I kind of think like he's the healthiest he's been all season right now. But is that 100%? I don't think it is.
No, because he's 39, 40, and he's had two pretty big, significant injuries this year. So it'll take off season to get 100% healthy. But he's got it to the point now where he can play through it and battle through it where it doesn't affect his game. It's probably something that's nagging him more so after the game. He's probably the first guy into the ice bath after the game.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And, when you're rounding that corner of the 30s to the 40s, I don't think you fully get 100% over the course of an off season either, but you feel a little bit better than you did before it started. That's for sure.
I'm 46 years old, Dirsa, and I'm still nursing injuries that I have, and I'm at 35 for my last playing goal.
After you turn 36, it's all downhill. It's just how far down the hill are you? Yeah.
No, like, talk about getting hot at the right time when we need it to, right there. But not only are they kind of cementing their spot in the playoffs here, but they're also sending a message to every team out there. Like, you listen to NHL radio, and the Oilers are one of the hottest topics right now talking about because of how hot they are. That's now been 19 of the last possible 22 points they've gotten their games. So 9 of the last 11, I think it was, for wins. Like, hottest team.
Really, the game against Calgary and the game against Minnesota are the anomalies from this little run, and I think we'd fare better, honestly, in a playoff series against the Flames than we would the Wild. I don't know what it is about Minnesota, but they seem to have our number. And
what suffocating style.
Yeah, and I think I don't think it's even much of a debate, but I think they have the best goalie tandem now in the NHL with Talbot and Fleury.
Which kind of surprised me. I wonder how Talbot feels, unless he takes it as a challenge, because I thought Talbot was actually having a good year, and then they still went to get Fleury. I'm like, what kind of message does that show in the confidence they had in Talbot? I wasn't sure. So
you know what? I think it's having the theology now that it takes two goalies to win a Stanley Cup.
I understand that, and I guess they're also both older goalies, so maybe there's some insurance value there. But, But I agree with you. Minnesota's been a tough matchup. They play a suffocating style. They don't let our guys wheel as much as we'd like. That Calgary game, we lost 9-5. I actually think we needed that game to happen and the way it happened, because they've been a different team since. Minnesota was a flat game for the whole team, and of course Minnesota plays the way they do. But that game, not counting that game, every game we've had after that Calgary game has been a brand new Oilers team.
I think you learn some lessons sometimes when you get spanked. Like if it's the other way around, we blow out the Flames, and we end up meeting them in the deeper into the playoffs. You might take them lightly. Now you're not going to, because if you don't bring your best game, you can get taken to the woodshed. So
the Flames, though, yes, they've got a pretty weak schedule here to close off, so that might also they might not be going into the playoffs with as much momentum as say the Oilers are right now, because we play quite a bit more stronger teams than Calgary has down the stretch. But overall, Calgary, I hate to say that, but they have been impressive this year. Like they're playing a good style of hockey right now.
Yep, and you know what, they're sort of built for the playoffs where they can play a physical brand of hockey. But you know what, I think if certain people step up come playoff time, I think we've got a little bit more firepower to play a little bit meaner game in the playoffs too. I think you need to survive the regular season and try to do it, as unscathed as you can, so you can lay your licks come playoff time, and you don't have owies before you start.
Speaking of licks, what about that Nurse hit on Ben, eh? I added a big whelp here about watching it by myself at home.
Yeah, I think there's a few jokes about it, like they say Ben won't go down in a box, but apparently he did. I should mention too, in the bottom left-hand corner tonight, there's like a QR code that I accidentally sent to you in our message. But if you use your phone, like if you're watching this on your TV and you put your phone up to that QR code and let it scan, then it'll take you to like a quick survey for the show on ways that we'd like to try to make it better, and guests that we've had. If there's one you'd want us to get back, including yourself, I believe you made the survey, and
terrible choice.
And I had you back before people said no, don't bring them back. So, but yeah, no, if you scan that QR code, you can fill out the survey, and we'd appreciate it. We want to get some feedback on previous shows and where we go from here and all that fun stuff, because it's been we're coming up probably a few months away from doing this for a year. Me and Dash. So
how live, eh?
Yeah, I think this is like episode 54 or something like that. So Dash is pretty good at keeping the tabs on that. He's getting set to fly out to Vancouver. I'm teasing him about going to scout the Canucks, but he's got a business trip out in Vancouver, and so tonight we kind of gave him the night off, and I'm glad you were able to join me, Bob.
Oh, always ready for you, buddy. Nothing I enjoy more than talking hockey, especially when we're bringing goalies. My goodness.
Yeah, we can't go for 2 hours tonight because I got a slap on the wrist, from YouTube for that, but. No, I didn't. I'm just teasing.
Okay.
Oh, and yeah, Chad was supposed to join in tonight, but I think life kind of made other plans for him today, so didn't work out. But
so we had Zack Cassian with 8 shots today. Yeah. So he was around the net like all night tonight. And then we had Darnell Nurse with 6 shots in that. I didn't really see him jump off the plate all that much, actually. So I was surprised to see that number.
Yeah, he's getting good. He's getting good though at sifting pucks in and getting them on net from the blue line, and they're they're just sort of wrist shots looking for tips and stuff like that. And yeah, I Nurse's game has settled down. Like there was a couple games there. I think the Minnesota game was one, and right around that time frame where him and CC kind of struggled a little bit, but that's gonna happen to anybody, and he's settled in, and those guys play 20 plus minutes a night, him and CC, and they're pretty steady pairing. I didn't really buy into everybody else's fear of Cody CC or Duncan Keith. I figured they would, be serviceable defensemen for us. With Keith, I knew that if you kept him in the 15 to sort of 17-minute range, he'd be fine. And CC, everybody thought that guy was going to be the plague when he came over, and he's been good for us. And the acquisition of Kulak here at the deadline has really settled, Barry's game, and I like Kulak. I got no problem with him.
Well, when I heard we got Keith, I was excited because of the leadership he brings, and he's still a serviceable player. He isn't the all-star he was with Chicago, and nor did we expect him to be. The only thing about Keith, and we've talked about this before, is just the whole salary thing. Like, we're paying a bit much, and that Chicago didn't ever retain anything for what he brings. But I think he does bring stability in the back end. CeCe, to me, was kind of an unknown factor. And when we picked him up, I'm like, well, he won't hurt us, but I'm not really sure what he brings to the table. CeCe, to me, has been the best surprise of the year when it comes to the individuals on the team. He's been impressive. I dare say he may be might have been our second most consistent or most consistent defenseman on the team this whole year. He's so steady back there. He's jumped up in the play a couple times and been an offensive force, but the biggest thing he brings is just a calmness. Like when he's in our zone, even with the puck in his zone, you hardly ever see him panic. There's a maturity to his game that I wasn't aware he had in him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's been good, really good for us. I've got no problems when he's on the ice, not at all.
Well, he's a guy that when he got hurt there for a little bit, that we noticed he was out. That's kind of when you see what they bring to the table, is when you don't have that in the game anymore. So
yeah.
In that same vein, I felt the same way about Keith when Keith was out there. I mean, he's had some bad games. He's had some real shitty games, but he's overall, he's been a consistent factor back there, and he does have that, especially that breakout pass where he fires a 100-mile-an-hour laser pass up to hit a guy on the rush. Well, that's a difference right there.
Yeah, he usually does everything, hot. And the one time he didn't was like a no-look Magic Johnson pass inside his own end right onto the tape of I can't remember who we were playing, but yeah.
That was only 3 games ago. That was Minnesota.
Yeah, he started that game off, and then it just went south. And I think, I threw that game out the window because it looked like the game before, was tight, nail biter with Colorado, and I think we actually probably deserved to win that. And ended up losing in the shootout. So I think they were, I don't like to give excuses, but I think they were mentally kind of beaten and didn't really get up for Minnesota because they were still licking their wounds. And I think that's kind of what happened in Minnesota. They just weren't mentally sharp for that one.
I don't think you're wrong. I think you're right about the Colorado game. Darcy Kemper stole that game. They're the reason why they had the extra point there.
Yeah, take nothing away from Mikko. He played incredible too, but I think we actually deserved to win that game.
100%. Like I said before, Koskinen stole us that point because the chances with the snipers Colorado has and the high quality chances they got that game was, that game could have been a runaway for sure. I was at that game, so as a goalie nut, to see the battle between Kemper and Mikko was pretty exciting. Although, in the end, you're kind of left just shaking your head, going, "Crap, we're so close."
Both teams should have won that on the power play. Didn't we have a power play in that one in overtime, and they had one late in the third?
Yeah. And I think we got them 11-0 in overtime or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah.
So not for lack of effort, that's for sure.
Yeah. Some other good things happened tonight. Jesse Puljujärvi kind of got off the schneid with a
soccer.
Yeah, I think it went off his foot and in or whatever. But I mean, if you go to the net, good things happen, and the big guy likes to go to the net, and he doesn't get credit for it, but the other night that screen in front was great too, and people want to just ride the guy, and it makes no sense. I mean, he's playing hockey the right way. The puck wasn't going in the net for him, but I think I'm glad Woodcroft's the coach, because I think about it, and if Tippett was coaching him, yeah, he probably would have got bounced off that first line because he wasn't, putting up the points. But he's playing the game the right way. He's keeping pucks in the offensive zone for, Kane and McDavid to do their thing with it, and there's just, I think he plays better with McDavid than he does with Draisaitl, and just keep putting him out there. He's like a big puppy dog. He's never upset. He's got that, shitting and grin all the time, and he's always happy, and
always like,
and he's playing the right way. Like, he's the first guy usually at the far end to like pressure a defender to make a play, and he's so big and lanky that if he isn't getting the puck, he's making it hard for them to get it by him, and a lot of times Kane or McDavid pick it off and it stays in the zone, and extra time to attack. I actually really enjoy watching the way he plays the game.
Yeah, he plays it.
And I think since Kane came, he's actually gotten more physical. He's finishing checks more and using that big frame.
That's what I was going to say. So thanks for cutting me off and taking all the glory for that comment. I was going to look
Host
smart
always
there.
has to look good, Bob.
That's why you keep putting me, bringing me back. You look much better when I'm a guest.
That's right.
But I was going to say the second half of the season, and yeah, that kind of coincides about when we got Kane. Puljujärvi has learned how to play the body better, and he kind of plays almost a similar style to Yamamoto, maybe not as dogged, but when it comes to puck pursuit and winning battles on the boards to get the puck out of those corners, like, he has been stellar. He has been putting up the points as much on the second half. We haven't really needed him to. It'd be nice to, but like Woodcroft said in a couple of press conferences, he's been getting chances. They'd be more worried if he wasn't getting chances.
Yeah.
So he's in the right spot. Eventually it'll go in. Something like maybe a goal like today where it goes off a shin pad.
Yeah,
maybe
gets him going.
Yeah, it gets him going.
Yeah.
But he's 16 games he's been back since injury. He's the only shitty game I think he's had was that Minnesota game where everybody had a shitty game. Right. So yeah, he's fine. He's great. So here's the thing though, Dirsa. Isn't he a free agent at the end of this year?
RFA, yeah.
Yeah, restricted, yeah. And now we run into the problem of Yamo also, and also what happens with Evander Kane, right? I mean, he's been amazing for us since we got him back.
Yeah, and Ryan McLeod.
Yeah, Ryan McLeod. Yeah,
and then you have to think, what are you doing at the end of the year with Kulak as well? So I think Koskinen's going to come off the books, but then is Stuart Skinner and Mike Smith your tandem next year? Do you try to upgrade the whole thing? What do you do with that? I don't know. I think next season, in the summer, you have to really take a look at can you have a successful right side when you've got two guys that are almost the same player in Tyson Barrie and Evan Bouchard. Do you make a change there? Do you keep Zack Cassian around? Can you trade him? Where you don't take back the same salary. So there's moves that kind of is a buyout happen again? I don't know. I really like our forwards when there is Evander Kane, when there is Jesse Puljujärvi, when there is Ryan McLeod, and when there is Kyler Yamamoto. I don't know if Zack Cassian really brings enough anymore to warrant, and I don't think it's been for a long time, where it warrants what you pay him. A $3.5 million guy that you're kind of scared to give over 10 minutes a night to.
He's had flashes. But he hasn't been, I'd say, since the pandemic, really, when they went to the bubble, and he couldn't respond to no fans.
Yeah,
he's a guy with fans. but the fans are back, and he still hasn't been able to consistently find that game that he had before then.
Yeah.
I think he is expendable.
I think his best hockey came, against the San Jose Sharks and Anaheim Ducks in the playoffs, and then it's really tapered off since then. Does he find that level again in this year's playoffs? We can't use the excuse that fans won't be in the building anymore. I don't know. I mean, the fans have been in the building here for a while, now, and I can't honestly say I've seen too many games of his where it was like, wow, look at him go. I think there's been one, maybe two, and.
But it is a situation where, a playoffs could save his job. If he ends up maxing out his performance here in the playoffs, I'd be like, okay, this is Zack Cassian we want, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly,
well, maybe not.
I think they would they'll welcome a great playoff from the guy, but I don't know if that would save his job. Like, I think the other guys that need to be here are more valuable.
Well, I agree. Yeah, and for me, I think you and I are on the same page, but I'm thinking more like management.
Yeah. Like if you're keeping Cassian over really any of those other four guys, I think you're doing your team a disservice in the long run.
Yeah, and the one thing that
the one guy's basically a rookie in McLeod, right?
Yeah. Oh, and his upside is huge, and he's so versatile. Like Woodcroft's got to play him in every situation. Cassian's role is limited, and then the chances that he has, like, there's been some games where we've been flat, and we could use a good physical shift from somebody. It doesn't have to be a fight, although I wouldn't mind seeing Cassian drop a bit more often. But he could run around and bang some bodies. Like, I think he had 3 games in a row there where he had maybe 1 hit in 3 games. Like, Ryan McLeod's not a hitter, and he was out hitting Cassian in those 3 games.
Yeah.
So that's your biggest attribute, and if you're not bringing that, then what good are you to us? He has. I'll say this: he has been better the last probably 3 or 4 games, but he hasn't played a consistent season in the least. He's been one of our least consistent players.
It sort of bothers me that there's a little bit of a, Puljujärvi versus Kane kind of mindset out there. And I see it as like the butterfly kind of co-symbiotic relationship where Kane's getting, his goals, but a lot of that's due to the work that Puljujärvi does at keeping pucks in, starting plays, making passes to McDavid. McDavid gets it over to Kane, or goes back to a D, then to McDavid, then to Kane. So he's sort of the third assist, I guess you'd call it.
There's been so many times where he starts to play, digs the puck out of the corner, and then passes up. And then he's also at the tail end of it. He won't get credit for it, but he's the guy in front of the net, like we were saying, right?
Right.
So the plays, and then he goes to the spot.
And just the two of them forechecking, and then McDavid, doing what he does. It's a force, and I don't want to blow that. And the same thing with Yamamoto and Hyman. They both work as a good unit to pressure D and cough pucks up, and Leon with his wizardry passing finds somebody or buries it himself. I want to see Kane back. I do want to see Puljujärvi back, long term. Yamamoto, McLeod, and to me, Cassian becomes expendable from your forward group, and you don't need to take a lot back for him. I think Dylan Holloway can come up next year and probably provide more of a physical edge than Cassian has been anyway. He's not as big, but he can skate like the wind. So he's going to be able to catch people. I mean, it's not that Cassian doesn't want to hit people. It's a lot of times by the time he's, engaged to make that hit, he'd get a charging call because the play's over. It's going the other way. So to me, I think he's become expendable. Yeah, we could use him, in a Rafi Torres kind of role in the playoffs, hammering everything that moves. But I don't know if that's good enough to warrant, bringing him back for a full season next year and getting kind of the, 5 good games a season kind of Cassian again.
Yeah, but then there's the Oilers have that history though of like we did that with Marchand when he had a good playoffs. We signed him to a lucrative contract, and he was always decently dependable, but he didn't. His playoff play was always better than regular season play. You had Pisani go on that monster run in '06 too, and we reward him for that when that's not really his style. He just got hot and rolled all through. So there's been times where playoffs has saved a guy's job, or even extended it. So I don't know. Cassian has an opportunity to at least put that kind of conversation going. But I'm with you, though, Dirsa. I'm with you. I think the other guys, I definitely keep them over Cass. Cass has been pretty disappointing to me. He hasn't been quote-unquote useless overall, but he hasn't been the Zack Cassian that we fell in love with when we got him, right? So,
yeah. I mean, I'm not the type of fan to really dog on players and I hate you and get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. It's not really my thing, but I just know that you've got some other things coming up in the summer that to me should take precedence, and moving forward, I think you need that scoring punch. Like, I think the days of having a guy that can deliver 3 or 4 good checks in a game aren't as important as the guys that can put the puck in the net and make your top 6 really go.
Well, if you can do both, then you're
right.
You're,
right, and I think that's why Kane has an allure to him. He can skate, he can finish, he can check, and he can drop the gloves basically with anybody, and survive. I don't think he beats Ryan Reeves in a fight, but he survives it, and he lives another day. It's kind of like Nurse. He can take on anybody and survive it. He doesn't really necessarily beat like a Lucic or a Reeves in a fight, but he's back the next game. Cassian right now reminds me a lot of Jujhar Khaira at the end, where if he fights, you're not really wanting him to be in that fight anymore because you're worried that it could be his last time on the ice. That's how I feel when I'm a little bit not quite on the edge with Cassian there, but probably about a month ago, that's where I was at with the guy. Like, I don't want to see him fighting because that could be the end of his career.
Well, he also had that recovery from that broken jaw and stuff, so there's that illusion of fragility that comes with that, right? Yeah. But I hear what you're saying, though. He hasn't been the same, and he's been expendable for us for a while. We didn't really miss him when he was hurt, really.
No.
Gave other guys a chance. We got to see them play. So, yeah, I think Cassie's run's done. I think you're right. Mikko's run is done. In fact, I'd be surprised if we see Mikko in the NHL next year. He's a guy who might end up playing like in back home overseas again. I hope he finishes strong. And maybe if he finishes strong enough, maybe there's a team that takes a chance on him. I don't know, but I think his time with the Oilers is done after this year. But I like Mikko. To me, he's never been a starting goalie. I always thought he was a great, at best, a 1B, but probably more, a really good backup. I like to see him finish strong as an Oiler, but he's not our answer. I mean, if him and Mike can carry us through this playoffs the way they're playing, then fantastic. But I don't think Mikko's an Oiler next year. I think we do. If Skinner has a good camp, I think he's our starter for next year. But they might go 1A, 1B with Mike Smith, depending if Smith can stay healthy. But in all honesty, what kind of mentorship program is that, right? Mike Smith and Stuart Skinner. That's a pretty good combo there overall.
That's interesting. I would think they would kind of gently walk Stuart Skinner into that and not start him right out of camp. But who knows? Maybe you let him run and
Well, I wanted to see Skinner play at least 8 games this year. Just that decent 8 to 10 games, at least a decent sample size. See what he has. How does he compare to the NHL game, right, sort of thing. And What did he have? He had 13 games. So I think he's shown that he can play in the NHL. He's done well. In fact, overall, he was probably our most consistent goalie of the three that we have, really. But he's thriving in Bakersfield. We have two guys under contract who are NHL goalies. So we know a contract's coming off the books next year. Let Skinner finish his Bakersfield career. Let's bring him up next year and let's see what out of the gate. Let's bring him up and see what he's got.
Yeah, no, I'm sold there. Dash was kind of teasing Carey Price next year, but I don't know how you make that happen unless Montreal eats half of that salary.
Oh, Carey Price is my favorite goalie in the NHL, but he's also not the Carey Price of old anymore neither. It doesn't help that he missed a big chunk of the season, and Montreal sucks right now.
Yeah,
but he's been my favorite for a while. I'm glad he got back to play a couple games yet this year, so he didn't just kind of be totally cold coming into next year. But
yeah,
I was afraid he'd get the Tuukka Rask syndrome, where Rask makes his found and because he just never found his game after that long layoff, and also basically lost the love of the game. I think. I was hoping that wasn't going to happen to Carey Price because I still want to see him play a bit more. I love the guy.
Yeah, he's one of the good guys. I'm not the world's biggest Montreal Canadiens fan, that's for sure, but definitely don't mind watching Carey Price play.
I wonder when's the last time a team made it to the finals and then were like the worst team the next year.
Yeah.
Although I guess Arizona is probably worse than Montreal right now, but for a long time there, Montreal was bringing up the basement.
Yeah, I mean, they lost a lot. I mean, as much as you kind of hate them, Corey Perry did really well for them. I mean, Toffoli's with Calgary now, and Price was, out most of the season, and of course Shea Weber. So. That's an
interesting dynamic. So Corey Perry, he's one of those players where you hate, but the longer they play, you start getting that respect for them, right? Like to see what he's doing in Tampa has been impressive, and he's playing well. And I hated him in Anaheim. I really did. He was that pest guy. Didn't like him that much in Dallas, but here in Tampa, I'm like, he's growing on me. But he reminds me a lot like Chris Chelios for me. I hated Chris Chelios. I absolutely couldn't stand that player at all. And the more he played, the longer he played, and how useful he still was, the older he was getting, I'm like, you just started getting that respect for the guy. Like, man, this guy is still doing it. He's been effective, and hats off to him. And by the time Chelios retired, I no longer hated the guy.
Yeah, like I hated Chelios too. And then as he got older and I started like reading about kind of his little idiosyncrasies and the things he would do so he could keep playing, kind of gave me respect for him. Like, pulling an exercise bike into a sauna and going for, a pedal in the sauna and that kind of stuff. And, a lot of guys now, their pregame meal is chicken or a pasta or something for high energy. Yeah. He was, a big old steak, and so, he would do things that were, kind of everyday normal kind of people stuff, but then he would paint outside the lines just to counteract, having that steak meal. Then he pulls an exercise bike into the sauna and cranks up the heat and goes longer than you should, and
works the steak off.
Purposely wouldn't drink water, so he'd have to act like he was dehydrated and just kind of crazy stuff, just so he could stay in the league till he was 45.
Here's another name for you, Gary Roberts.
Yeah,
I hated Gary Roberts. Obviously, in the '80s, as a Flame, I couldn't stand that guy. One of the guys on the team I hated the most. He went to Toronto. I hated him there. Because he still carried that Flame stigma with me. And then when he makes that comeback after his big neck problem, and he's in Carolina, and he comes back, and not only is he effective, he's still playing like aggressive. I felt he found more respect for his opposition though when he's playing in Carolina. Like he just appreciated being back in the AHL. He wasn't playing any more of that dirty tactics he used to do in Calgary. But by the time Gary Roberts retired, I no longer hated the guy.
I never hated Gary Roberts, really. Doug Gilmour is a different story. I never really had much respect for Doug Gilmour, but maybe Roberts was more sneaky dirty. And speaking of that, did you see that little subtle cross-check Nurse gave tonight?
Robertson? Yeah.
It was only about this much stick action. Like, it was only like that. But he rocked him, and I'm pretty sure he caught a rib. Because I think he took the wind out of him there.
Along the boards there? On Robertson?
It was close. Yeah, it was close to the side of the net.
Yeah. I thought he got him on the forearms, like on the back of the forearms, like here. And that's going to sting too.
Yeah, maybe, but I think he caught him like on the little bit on the lower back and maybe there. And I think he winded him and stung him, and it was only like about this much of a cross check. Like, it wasn't much, but it was just nice little hard Chris Pronger like cross check. Yeah. Yeah, if you played a little bit of D or a little bit of forward, you respect those ones. And there wasn't much of a reaction from that guy from Dallas either, but you could tell he was in pain.
Oh, he was in pain for sure, yeah. And he skated right off after that. But nobody seemed to make a big deal of it.
No, because I don't think they really saw. Because like I say, it wasn't like a vicious big shiv. It was just a little.
More subtle.
A little quick one, but...
Bit of a veteran move by Nursey.
Yeah. And, some people would shy away from that, but I appreciate those. Sometimes you need that to get a little bit of room out there and a little bit of respect.
Yeah. Absolutely you do, yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing... It's not Jesse's style, but it does seem kind of, for a guy that big and that dogged, I wish he could... do something.
You know what? With him, I love that he isn't that way, because I think it pisses people off more. Because he always it's like Tikkanen. I mean, he always has that grin on his face, and I mean, you can be a little bit nasty with him, and he'll kind of give you a look, but he never retaliates. And that gets in your head, because you're nasty with a guy, and you want him to retaliate, to take the penalty, and he never takes the bait. He's too disciplined. I love him. I really do. I love that. I love that. I guess that's kind of a little bit of like a lot of like how I would play forward. I didn't worry about the mental, games and the trash talk and all that. I'm out there to kind of do a job. And if you can stay like focused on, trying to score goals and set your team up and that, and guys are trying to throw you off your game and get you into like the little antics and that, it drives them crazy if you don't take the bait.
I think I wonder though, for Jesse's side, if he's maybe a bit scared of that kind of confrontation. Like Tikkanen would do that. He was intentional with it. Like, he would bait them and then turn away, kind of stuff, and that pissed the guy off. I don't think Jesse plays I love the fact that he plays aggressive. He's not afraid to play aggressive. He's not afraid to bang in front of the net or along the boards. I love that. So he's not shying away from that. He's not playing like he's not playing scared. But when it gets to head on, headbutting kind of confrontation, I don't think he wants to. I think he's kind of scared to engage in that a little bit. He's got that kind of shy little boy look to him then when somebody stares him down.
His problem right now is he doesn't know his own strength, and he doesn't know how big he actually is.
Yeah, and honestly, he probably doesn't even know how to fight, really. But he's learning how to use his body, and we don't need him to fight. Not that we want him to fight. That's just something that I see when you get a big guy going up against him, staring him down, where Jesse's kind of like, no, thank you.
So, I'm pretty sure it's probably Mr. Hebert on the Heavy Hockey Network watching on YouTube says Ovi scores his 50th tonight. He ties Wayne Gretzky and Mike Bossy for 9 50-goal seasons. Hats off to Ovechkin for that. He's a marvelous goal scorer in his own right, but that's pretty good company to join with Wayne Gretzky and the late Mike Bossy.
This was I remember having this conversation about a halfway point through the year with somebody. They were arguing, obviously, the anti-Oiler guys, like how at that point, Ovi was leading the league in goals. So he's beating guys like Connor McDavid and guys like Leon Draisaitl, and just shitting on that 36-year-old Ovechkin was beating these kids. And I said, that's not an insult. That's, if anything, that's a compliment. You're comparing McDavid and Draisaitl to one of the greatest players in the history of the game, regardless of age. Like, he's one of the greatest players in the history of the game. That's a compliment, if anything. Ovechkin, though, I think he's driven by getting this goal, being the all-time goal leader, because like, he is hungry for that net. I love watching that guy.
He loves to score goals. The one thing I'll say, though, is, I mean, it's a different time, different era, different equipment now. Different rules. A lot of things are different. But I think Wayne Gretzky, if he's in today's gear and today's training and today's equipment and all of that, he's still, probably the best to ever do it. He was a phenomenal athlete in his own right, years ahead of his time. And Wayne was a past first guy. He was. Ovi's a past last guy. And I mean, it's just two different mindsets to play the game. Gretz was playing chess and everybody else was playing checkers. And I don't think you can say the same thing about Ovechkin. Ovechkin, has a nose for the net. He knows where to spot up to shoot. I see him more as like a Brett Hall kind of player, where he picks his spots where he thinks he's got the best chance to score a goal. And Wayne was playing the whole game, and he was 2 or 3 steps ahead of people with his thought process, and Wayne would put pucks, he would lead people to go to where they would have the best chance to score, and he wasn't worried about going to where the best place he had to score. So if Wayne had Ovi's kind of, mentality, where would he be as a goal scorer? We'll never know.
Well, it's scary to think, because he scores 92 goals one year.
Yeah, and Wayne's still going to have more assists than anybody else has points. It's just it's unbelievable what the guy did, and it's kind of the Michael Jordan played against plumbers and farmers bullshit. They were professional athletes at that time, and he was just so much better than everybody else. And I think the same thing would apply now, but he would have different training, different equipment, and all that. But the mind for the game, and I think one of his advantages back then was the things that his dad taught him. Watching Hockey Night in Canada, you watch the game, but you chart where everybody is on this paper without looking, and that's what led to his peripheral vision. I mean, Walter's as much to credit for Wayne's success, I think, as Wayne. Like, it's unbelievable. And I don't know. I marvel at that, and I understand that, and I don't know if everybody now kind of has that understanding.
Well, no, they don't, because everybody lives in the now. So Austin Matthews right now is, in a lot of people's mind, is the greatest scorer of all time. Right. And he reached 50 for the first time this year. Yeah. I'm a strong believer in the greats would have been great in any era. So if Connor McDavid was playing in the 50s, would he be skating as fast as he is now? Well, no, because the equipment was different. The skates were different, right? Yeah. But would he have been the fastest player in the game in the 50s? Yeah, he probably would have been. He just wouldn't be as fast as he is now. It's different equipment, different timing, different coaches. Wayne Gretzky in 2022, if he was 25 years old, would he be the greatest player in today's game? Yeah, probably, because he was thinking of the game at a different level, and he would have been brought up in this coaching style with this equipment and with these systems. Would he have put up 200 points? Probably not, because the game isn't designed for 200 points now, right? So Rocket Richard, if he played today, Would he be competing with Ovechkin for the goal scoring race? Absolutely, he would be. He would be. He'd be using the sticks that Ovechkin uses. He'd be using the skates. He'd be using the systems that are being played now. If Ovechkin played in the 50s, same thing. So it's different time. It's tough to compare eras. The best way you can compare how great a player was is if you compare them to their peers at that time. Because at that time, they're the greatest athletes in that sport in the world. So when Gretzky was playing in the 80s, those were the greatest hockey players in the world at that time in the 80s in the NHL.
Would Maurice...
How much better was he than the rest of his competition?
Would Maurice Richard get a 50-game suspension in today's NHL? My call.
He would have had a lifetime suspension for punching a linesman. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And Montreal would still be mad over it.
Yeah. So, like Terry Sawchuk had 103 shutouts. He would... Well, I think Tony Esposito had like 15 shutouts in 1 year. Would he be getting that in today's game? No, but he'd still be one of the greatest goalies in the game.
Yeah.
He'd probably still lead the league in shutouts, but it'd probably be like with 9 or 10, right? So at different times, but the greats are great in any era. They're just with different equipment and different styles. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. And it's not to take anything away from Ovechkin. I mean, he's a fabulous hockey player. He's, if he's not on your Mount Rushmore, he's got to be pretty close.
100%. Yeah, Ovechkin is amazing, and I'll say this too: Austin Matthews is amazing. I do think right now in the NHL right now, if we're taking a poll today, I do think Austin Matthews is the best goal scorer in the league right now. I think he's a better scorer than Draisaitl. I think he's a better scorer than Ovechkin in this year's game. It's amazing what he can do. I don't think he's even a top 3 forward in the league though overall. Goal scoring alone doesn't give you that status. Like that's not taking anything away from Matthews, but I think it's totally unfair to compare Austin Matthews to Connor McDavid. It's a different planet. And it's not even fair to Austin Matthews that people are doing that. Like you don't compare that. Is he a better goal scorer than McDavid? Yeah, but he's not a better player than Connor McDavid, not in the least, and every other facet of the game.
No, I mean, if you're starting a franchise tomorrow,
Thank you, Dirsa. And this is the argument I make with everybody. I guarantee you, every GM in the world would take their best player and trade him 1-for-1 for McDavid any day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking a positional player, I think it's McDavid to start your franchise with, and then you build around that. And so, honestly, the number 2 guy I think is Leon Draisaitl.
We're on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And I don't think it's Leon's riding Connor's coattails. I don't think at all. They're playing on a separate line for most of the time.
Yeah.
There's times they put together, especially in the playoffs, and for sure that plays a factor into Draisaitl's playoff goal numbers. But just his overall game, the way he carries the line, the way he carries the play when he's out there, to me he's the second best forward in the league, at least for sure.
I probably go those 2 guys, and then I take Cal Makara from Colorado as my defenseman, and probably the Shesterkin out of the Rangers as my goalie because he's young. Other than that, I would probably go Vasilevsky. But
Shesterkin, in my mind, is the best goalie in the NHL right now. If I were to build a team around a guy, though, I might look at a guy like Spencer Knight, who is a premier backup right now, but he's going to be a starter before you know it, and he's going to be a rock star. So, I think he's your biggest bang for age and quality. So Shesterkin, though, my goodness, that guy's a stud.
Yeah. I mean... I watch Matthews, and I think he's a gifted goal scorer and a pretty good 2-way player, but just not the dynamic, multifaceted game that Leon or Connor have.
I don't think Matthews carries a line the way that Connor and Leon do. I think Matthews does rely a lot on Mitch Marner, and Mitch Marner, another great hockey player.
Yeah.
I don't like this whole idea of stars riding other stars' coattails. No, that's not it at all. I think they complement each other. A star is going to be a star, and if you have another star to work with, that just amplifies both of your games. What I don't like about the Austin Matthews thing is how people are talking about him in the Selke conversation. He's a good two-way player. He is a good two-way player. He's not a Selke candidate. If he truly is one of the best defensive forwards in the game, wouldn't he be on your penalty kill when you need your best defensive players out there? The argument a lot of Leafs fans are doing, well, we have other players that can do it. Okay, yes, I'll grant you that. But if he's one of the best in the world, then you would have him out there in the penalty kill, whether you have other people that can do it or not.
Yeah,
that's when you need your best defensive players out there on the penalty kill. He's got like 40 seconds of penalty kill time all year. Like that to me is not a Selke candidate. Are you telling me that Austin Matthews is in the mold of Patrice Bergeron? Like,
no,
it's not even close.
No.
So that conversation needs to end. You don't need him to be the greatest player in the game to be the greatest goal scorer. Why aren't you happy that he's the greatest goal scorer in the game right now, that you have such a dynamic player? Austin Matthews is a legit superstar. Why are you making him out to be something that he's not? Well, why not just enjoy what he is?
I will take a swing at Leafs Nation here for sport. The 50 and 50, is kind of bullshit. Like, I'm sorry, but if your team's played 75 games, but you get 50 goals in the 50 that you've played, it's not 50 and 50.
Well, the thing is,
it's impressive. It's impressive in its own right, but it's not 50 and 50. It was 50 and 75. You were hurt for 25 games or whatever it is, and that's not 50 and 50. When Gretzky had 50 and 35, he had 50 and 35.
And 39.
39, yeah.
So the thing is, this isn't the first time that's come up, because this happened with Cam Neely too. He scored 50 in 50 games, but it wasn't in the team's 50th game.
Yeah. And
they made a big deal back then too. So I'll give them some slack for.
No, I won't.
All right. I'll turn a Puljujärvi here and just skate away from that one.
There you go. Yeah. No, I mean, it's impressive in its own right, and and whatever, but no.
If we're gonna start,
that's the thing about Matthews that I think is going to hold him back over the course of his career, is he is pretty injury prone, and McDavid and Draisaitl have been pretty healthy, and I with Matthews, I wonder too when it they get into the playoff series and the physicality ratchets up. Is he built to handle that? And
well, he should be. Like, he's not a small boy.
He's not, but it seems like the course of a 82 game regular season for Toronto, has he had one that he's been healthy? Since he's been there, I don't think he's played all 82 games once there. Yeah, you can fact check that, but.
The thing is, I hope he can, because I think we need Austin Matthews. He's a dynamic player. He's a superstar. I love watching him play. I'm not a Matthews hater. I do hate the comparisons, though, that they do to like the real big guns.
I don't hate him. I don't hate him either. And honestly, I don't hate the team of the Leafs. Like, no, the players themselves. My beef with Toronto, and I think a lot of people share kind of where I come from on this, is McDavid can have a hat trick in a preseason game, and the Leafs can have just a inter squad game, and the lead story on SportsCenter is how Matthews rifled the puck over the glass.
I know.
Like, what the fuck? Like, you always start with and I get it. I mean, that's the major part of TSN and SportsCenter and Sportsnet's target audience. They draw the most views from Toronto because it's the biggest population base. But other things in the sporting world go on, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers could win the Super Bowl, but we got to talk about what Matthews did in a practice. Like, it's insanity. Like, why does that always have to lead off, and you've got to push that and push that and push that? Matthews is going to win the Hart. Well, other people have had great seasons. Like, I even stuck up for Johnny Gaudreau because he has a 100-point season, and all we're talking about is Matthews' goals and how he should win the Hart. Jonathan Huberdeau is having a great season in Florida. Do we ever hear about that? Not really.
No, we don't.
What is it for the Rangers? Was it Kreider?
Yeah, Kreider's got 50 goals.
Kreider has a 50-goal season. I mean, nobody's talking about that, and there's other greatness going on around the league, and it's just kind of swept under the rug.
It is, but that's more the fault of like you said, it's the more fault of media, because they make Toronto the center of the universe. So, Draisaitl can score 50 and McDavid can score 100 points, and the lead story will be what Austin Matthews had for supper.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it goes there. And the fans, they fall for that bait, so they're all on board that wagon too. You nailed the head. You nailed it on the head, though. Like, Matthews is a great player, and he should be talked about. It's just that it just gets overhyped by the media more so than what he actually is as a player. And he's a great, great player. Just fact checking quickly there. I said this is Austin Matthews' 6th season, and he has played 2 full seasons. His rookie year, he played 82 games. In 2019-20, he played. The season got cut short because of the pandemic at 70 games, and he played all of those. So that's it.
I stand corrected. So Saturday. Is it Saturday? It's Friday. Friday we played the Avalanche. You got a prediction for that?
I say we blow it open. I say let's make a statement. I'm going to go with offense kicks into gear. Colorado will be caught flat-footed by that, so let's go with 6-1. Let's do it.
Ooh, we're going to rout the Avalanche. I'll say 5-3 Oilers. And I'm not very confident in that. Any final thoughts, Mr. Bobby? And then I'll close this down.
Well, I like how we started out with Mike Smith. So my final thoughts on Mike Smith and the Oilers goaltending. Just to reiterate the thought about both guys are hot at the right time. Anything can happen once you get to playoffs. You get a hot goalie, and let's just go with it. But hats off, much respect. Mike Smith, who I had a moment of silence for last time. Now my hats off and respect for the battle level he has shown off the ice to regain his battle level that he has on the ice to be the Mike Smith of the Arizona Coyote days all of a sudden these last 5-6 games. So I'm enjoying it. I love Mike Smith. So
I got to chirp you a little bit because I think your hat ring is, I don't got much of one, but you definitely have that ring there, so you can probably loosen that chapeau just one notch on the old clip.
It's not a notch one though; it's a band one.
Oh boy! You gotta buy a half size bigger on the Pro Fit next time.
No, this is actually perfect, except for the fact that full disclosure, this is the vulnerable minute at the Straight Off the Pipe podcast. Is I hate getting my hair cut.
There you go.
I hate the people running their fingers through my hair and stuff. It feels invasive to me. It's just one of those quirks I have. So I go to the same lady every time. So it's always the same person doing it. So it's not quite so like a stranger running fingers through my hair. And she's not available till next week, I guess. So it'll be one more week here. But she was gone. She was gone for a while, and I wait too long anyways because I hate getting my hair cut. So, and now she's gone, it's that much longer. So yeah, I'm a big shagger muffin right now.
There you go. So yeah, if you missed it earlier, there's a QR code in the bottom left-hand corner. If you take your phone, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or on a TV, if you take your phone and scan that QR code, it'll take you to a quick little survey about the show. and we'd just appreciate if you could fill that out quickly, and then we kind of get feedback of what we're doing here, so we can try to make this little bad boy of ours a little better for you. You can check out articles about hockey on heavyhockey.com from some of the guys that contribute. Other podcasts to follow in the group is Oilers Live, Forever 99 podcast hosted by Eric Friesen, or there's Tough Call Pod, Josh Bolton, who breaks down kind of videos and kind of gives his suspensions, and Dash likes to chirp him and call him soft call, but Josh does a pretty good job of those. He's got his own like criteria for suspending players, so he kind of does George Peros like videos there, and they're kind of fun to watch. Chirp him. We love to do it in the group chat. It's lots of fun. Thanks everybody for watching, and keep your sticks on the ice. Keep reaching for the stars. Go Oilers, go! Let's finally beat the Avalanche on Friday night, my birthday. Good night. Nice. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.